Can't think of our married date.
Who else? Natalie, engaged in public education?
I worked for TASB for 20 years. And besides having kids that graduated.
Who else?
What?
That's right, keep going.
And my mother was a music teacher in public education and did at the end of her career.
Good. And Mr. Prayer.
Oh, I'm Susan McBrayer, and I have been in education for 45 years and lived in the Northeast in Austin, and then in the Northeast for 30 years, and now I'm president of faculty at Cedar Park.
Good. Anybody else who's been engaged in public education formally? Yes, ma'am.
26 years as a first, second reading teacher in New York State.
Okay, good. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. This is our last class of the last several months. And thank you all for the many of you who have been here from the beginning and all of the various different guest speakers that we've had. Just a few housekeeping reminders that we are being Zoomed, and so it is being recorded live to the Ustream and Ustream. Ustream. This is what happens when you finish leading worship and you come to class. It's up there. So what you say can and will be used against you. We've done some partial introductions of who we are. Now it's time for all of us to once again introduce ourselves. Kitty, we're going to start with you. Today's question is, what is your name and what is the name of a teacher that you still remember?
Just one?
Now, yes, just one. And we cannot go into like, let me write you, and you get like the name of the teacher in maybe 2 words or a sentence. Okay, we're going to start with Kitty and we'll come down to Susan and we'll work our way around. Kitty.
My name is Kitty. I can't remember any of my teachers. I can remember my homeroom teacher, which was McCormick.
Okay, thank you, Susan.
I'm going to say my 3rd grade teacher, Mrs. Hudson, she got me.
Okay. We're going to keep going around.
My high school band director, Mr. Wilson.
And your name is?
Natalie.
Thank you, Natalie. Reeve Hobby, Mrs. Smith, my art teacher.
Emily Hobby, Mrs. Carey, my kindergarten teacher.
Barb Christensen, Mrs. Brown, my 1st grade teacher.
Kurt Christensen, Miss Van Appeldorn, my kindergarten teacher.
Ken Whiteside, Jim Henderson, high school choral director. His nickname was Coach.
Joe.
Joe Schultz, my 3rd grade teacher, Miss Hasselman. She got me back in the straight and narrow.
Linda Whiteside, my high school journalism teacher, Mrs. Julia Jeffries.
Mary Zimmerman, my high school home economics teacher, Miss Pauline Slade.
Carol Lowe, my high school home economics teacher, Mrs. Green, and that's my career choice.
Nancy Ryder, my senior year of high school international relations teacher, Mr. McNally.
Kathy Roberts, C.C. Turner was the guy at my high school with all the advanced placement math. A lot of.
Let me pause there. Go ahead, Steve.
Steve Sains, Sister Josephine. Yes, I grew up Catholic.
We're doing name and the name of a teacher that you remember.
Oh, Helen Siegel, Miss Natowski, 3rd grade. I made her a quilt.
Michael, Miss Marshall. We would throw tennis balls for her service dog at recess. She understood.
I'm Cheryl Payton. Molly McCullough was my choral director in high school.
Ross Payton, Ms. Stigler, she was my calculus teacher in high school.
I'm Michelle Cooper, Miss Walker, my 5th grade teacher who realized I was reading at a 3rd grade level and had me fixed.
I'm Karen McElhaney. I would say Mrs. Brandon, my high school physics teacher that propelled me into engineering.
Oh, okay.
Carol Longoria, it would be my freshman algebra teacher, Estella Fonseca, who would not let me walk away from math.
Right. Well done.
Stephen Mendoza, my senior year in high school, my band director, where I was a drum major, Mr. Gilmore.
Senior Moss.
Mr. Banks, 3rd and 4th grade, introducing me to Simon and Garfunkel.
Nice.
Joan Hetherington, so many, Mr. Rosenblatt, my high school band director.
Cool, great. I'm gonna do mine. But before we do, Michael, would you check the thermostat and just knock it on down to
Diane,
68?
my guess.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm coming around. No, it's just it's a touch screen.
Oh,
There you go. On the right side are some down arrows.
yeah.
Great. Diane, your name and the name of a teacher that you remember.
I'm Diane Rogers, and I would say my 3rd grade teacher, Mrs. Brickler.
Great. Let me get y'all two and then I'm gonna do mine, please.
Alicia Markham, I'm gonna name my teacher too, my junior English lit teacher who taught me to see outside my own world.
Teresa is teacher, Mr. Ben, and was my 8th grade math teacher.
Great math teacher. I'm going to cheat. I am going to name a teacher, but it was not through public education. I have been a Christian for 32 years. It was September of 1994 when I was baptized. I was 17 years old, and it was the first time I had joined a church. And I joined a youth group, and there was a youth sponsor who had just come home from University of Texas, and was a fabulous teacher among many that I've had. Cheryl Dunlap was my youth sponsor when I was a wee little lad. There was a time I was a wee little lad. And so many of you know that Michael has been worshiping with us for the last couple of years, and there is some of the connection. And so they surprised me by showing up today. So just remember that those of you, and some of you have been a youth mentor or a sponsor, that is every bit as important when it comes to education. One of the things that we've learned, and I'm probably sure it conveys also with public ed, is in order for someone to enjoy the love of learning beyond high school, in order for someone to sustain their faith beyond high school, they need 5 key relationships with people outside of their home. And I'm delighted that Cheryl has been one of mine, and her father as well. So let's open with prayer. Let us pray. Almighty God, you have called us to love our neighbors and to seek justice. As we begin this day, give us courage to ask hard questions and grace to listen well. Amen. Over the past 3 months, we have been doing more than just learning information. We have been practicing the ability and the art of seeing and hearing. Many of you have had the opportunity to go to board meetings, and one even went with me, and we had a lovely old good time. I do think that Round Rock Independent School District Board of Trustees meeting room made a wise choice, if I were a trustee, in choosing what chairs the gallery has to sit in, because no one wants to sit in them for too long. So wise choice. Wise choice. They have these nice plush leather chairs that is, if they sit there longer than all the rest of us. So we have also been studying reports about public education in Texas. We've surveyed the Bluebonnet curriculum. We have looked at State Bill 10, State Bill 11, State Bill 12. We've heard from elected legislatures. We've heard from academic professors. We have worked on trying to name the pressures that are being applied to public education, especially in Texas. and the various powers that influence and shape what happens in our communities and in our classrooms. We have also held a theological question at the center of the work that we've been doing, which is, what does faithful witness look like? Not in theory, but in the real places where children learn, where teachers serve, and where communities are formed. We've tried not to rush to easy answers, and we've tried to become people who can see clearly, listen carefully, and to discern faithfully. Today marks a closing, but yet a turning point for us. We move from reflection and information and studying toward response. And it is not work that we do alone. We're joined today by two guests who have brought with them lived experience, insight, and perspective on the landscape of public education in Texas. Dr. Azaiz, or Dr. AZ, as many people refer to him, serves as the superintendent of Round Rock Independent School Districts. He brings a global and deeply experienced perspective to public education. Originally from Tunisia, he has spent more than 2 decades in Texas schools, beginning as a middle school science teacher and moving into district leadership. His work has consistently focused on expanding opportunities for students, including innovative early childhood programs and partnerships that open new pathways to learning. And one other part that I've gotten to know about Dr. AZ over this last year has been a vision of him and the entire Board of Trustees for college, career, military readiness, and the ways in which the CTE program is being fostered, nurtured in our district. And perhaps maybe they'll share with you a little bit more about what is going to become a reality in the next year. Alicia Markham serves as the president of the Board of Trustees for our district and brings a strong commitment to community engagement and public education. She is a lifetime volunteer and leader within our district with experience in PTA, advisory councils, and local nonprofit work. As a parent of 2 students in the district, she offers both governance perspective and a lived connection to the schools we are discussing today. Together, they help us ground all that we have been discussing in real conditions, real decisions, real consequences. Their presence reminds us that this conversation is not abstract. It is about people, it is about relationships, and the shared common good of our communities. As you listen today, I invite you to hold 2 postures at once. One, a posture of curiosity, to be open to what you may not yet understand, and 2, a posture of discernment. Pay attention to what stirs within you, what elevates the concern from within you, and what it is that you might be called to engage with. This is not about agreeing with everything, but it is about learning how to listen so well so that together we can make a faithful next step in our community and in our districts. Dear friends, please help me welcome our guests today. All you, sir.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. I'm really happy to be here. I'm honored yourself this morning. I don't know if you wanna, if you could get off or, okay. I think it was
I'll pull it up. I'll pull it up.
So, like Pastor Josh said, I'm really blessed to be working as a superintendent of Round Rock ISD. But before that, I was born and raised elsewhere, so I've seen different education systems. You know, not necessarily better per se, but there are a different variety of things. And then since I moved to the United States, obviously I started working as a middle school teacher and loved middle school. I was a science teacher. I taught 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade, and then IPC also, integrated physics and chemistry. I also was an assistant principal, a lead principal, an assistant superintendent, and before becoming a superintendent around Rock ISD, I was a superintendent in another school district down south in the valley. So I worked in a variety of school district, different settings. and I've seen like the good, the bad, and ugly, right? And I'm stressing when I said we have an amazing school district. It's really is an amazing school district, and there are a lot of things I can talk about hours and hours why the Ironica is an amazing school district. But I'm gonna just say a few things. One is this kind of stuff is the how we come together as a community to take care of students. It's the church is coming together. It's our community, like our community partners or business partners. It's our PTA. We have one of the strongest PTA in our district. Our parents are amazing. And most importantly, we have the best of the students, anywhere you can find. And all that to support the work of our teachers and staff, because without them, obviously, we cannot get anything done. And so all of us coming together, and I really truly believe it when I say it takes a village to raise a child. I mean, that's really what it is. It takes all of us working together. And I think that's really one of the strongest thing about Roanoke ISD, all of us coming together to really help the students really succeed and achieve anything they want to achieve. And so, again, I want to give you some background information about Roanoke ISD. I know some of you are parents or work at Roanoke ISD, but we have 56 campuses. That includes 7 high schools, 11 middle schools, and 35 elementary. We have a little bit over 46,000 students in Roanoke ISD. And if you, I know every district in every state is different, but there are about 1,200 independent school districts in the state of Texas. And if you rank them by size, Roanoke ISD ranks about 21 as far as sizes, out of 11 or almost 1,200 school districts. So we are considered kind of like more than the large size. The largest one being Houston ISD with now 180,000 students more or less. Yes, it's a lot. Dallas, but like I know I get a couple of our friends from New York, right? New York State, the public system is 1.2 million students.
Wow.
So I don't even know how that how they run a system that large. But anyway, so that's in a nutshell. We are very diverse and we cherish our diversity. We have students from all over. We have more than 90 spoken languages at home, right? And so we also, as you can see, we have students who receive special education services. We also have students who receive TAG or gifted and talent services. We have students who are what's called immersion bilingual, who typically English is their second language, right? Or they're learning 2 languages at the same time. And then we also have what CTE stands for Career Technical Education. So we have a huge number, and we're proud of that, huge number of our students who really take those career technical education along with the normal like math courses, science courses, and social study courses. And I know we talked about this, and I probably will dig deeper into it. In the old days, I don't know, but that's how I grew up at least. You have to pick a choice, whether you're gonna go in technical choice or like college or right choice in the old days, right? That's not the case anymore, and that's what I tell parents all the time. You can have both, or either one or both. Most of the courses we do and the programs we are actually implementing in the new building that we, thanks to our board, we were able to buy and we're going to convert to a CTE building, Career Technical Education building. Everything that we offer there will be what's called a dual credit courses, meaning the students will have received like credit, like a local credit for high school, but also they receive college credit for it. So, and I'm not gonna talk about all the programming that we have, but one of them is electrical trade. So the students who will be taking electrical trade with us there, they can get up to level 1 certification, and then high school credit for it. But all of the other courses will be taught with Austin Community College adjunct professors. So the students will be earning college hours as well, up to 20 college hours in that electrical trade alone. And so if a student, after finishing up high school with us, parents decide, you know what, I love this stuff, but I really want to go beyond. Maybe I want to go pursue a degree in electrical engineering. So any courses that they took with us actually will be transferable to whatever college you go to. And so they don't have to start from scratch, but those 18-20 hours will count toward that, almost like because it's almost like a semester and a half worth of college, I guess. And so we want to allow to our students to give them the opportunity to do whatever they want. The families also to do whatever they want with their kids. But being smart and strategic, how we really provide things that they can actually continue using in the future. We also going to be doing other programs like in semiconductor. We're going to be one of the first school district will be doing a program, such a program in semiconductor with ACC, with a community college, and potentially with a Samsung. It will be the same way too. People don't know, maybe you know, like you can make good money even if you don't decide not to go to college, right? Or even with an associate degree. I can tell you because I spoke with other business partners like Samsung, Applied Materials, who are in the semiconductor work, and they tell me if the students gets a level 2 certification, they can start with 6 figures at 18 or 19, which is like it's a decent amount of money, right? For someone, for anybody really. And so I know. So anyway, this is kind of like we are very strategically located in an area where we have so many, as I said, businesses and big businesses, whether it's against Samsung, Applied Material, Apple, Dell here. I mean, so many other within the area, Google. So so the focus is around like the city slash the college. Now we're also proud to say, and I'm going to show you in the next slide. We have students who do all kind of stuff. We have students who earn a associate degree already in Roanoke ISD, which is associate degree is 2 years worth of college already, which is about 260 college hours. Because we have an early college high school building. That's one of the high schools we have. And also we started 2 years ago offering what's called a PTAC, which is pathway into in technology in early college high school in one of our high schools. Our students right now, actually they're a second cohort, they're in 10th grade. They're earning an associate degree in nursing, and also in the same time too, earning up to level 2 certification as a vocational nurse, right? LVN, licensed vocational nurse. And so those students also can hit the workforce if they want to at 18, right? And they can. We have a business partner. I think St. Davis is our partner, and they actually get to shadow, the nurses, doctors, things like that, so they can also learn, because there's a lot of as you know, hands-on component to the learning that they're doing. So it's really there in the fields also, like almost every week. And so those are the students that they're going to be earning the associate degrees. We have also more than 7,000 industry certification earned last year, and that's only the class of 2025. By the way, we graduated almost 4,000 of them last year, and we are on track to grade another almost 4,000 this year too, in the month of May. And then we're proud to say that 38 of our students actually decided to serve in our country, in our military, serve our country. And so those 38 of them, because we also have to prepare them for that. If that's what they want to do, we have to make sure they're ready to be successful too. So as I said, we are a large organization, but we're proud of the work that we do. And again, it takes a whole village, as I said. And then I don't know if you want to take that over. You want me? Okay.
No, someone to talk.
Yeah. This is and I'm glad that you mentioned that you already talked about some of the bills, but that's one of the that's kind of like we understand like things like you have to assess situations and make some laws and changes based on that, right? But I think what has been really like for us hard is the amount of bills that were adopted or put forward, right? And sometimes, like, I happen to believe, like, if you're going to change something, either the thing it has to be not working, or you solve for a problem, like you're trying to fix something. Why would I give you, why you add more to your plates or ask you to do something different if there is no problem, right? There's no a challenge or situation that you're trying to solve. Right? Because otherwise we'll almost like I'm trying either to hurt you or destroy you or add more to you. Yeah, exactly. For no reason. Why would I give you more work or change the way you do stuff, right? In other words, you have to be solving for a problem or changing something for the good, right? And I think we all, and I feel it, and I mean, it's because it trickles down. A lot of this stuff trickles down to the classroom, right? As much as we're trying to shield our classroom teachers and our folks who at the campus level from all this nonsense sometimes, has to trickle down because it becomes the law. You have to obey the law, right? And so, but some of these changes, at least in my mind, don't even make sense. And also the amount of them are coming all at us all at once. You're almost trying to make us really fail because it's too many at once. How many can you handle at once? Any human being, right? Any person, right? Before you said, you know what, this is too much, I'm out. And so I think that's really what I think the feeling is that there's a lot of all coming at us at once. And sometimes we're trying to figure out why are we doing this for again? Like, what is the purpose, I guess? What are we trying to solve for here? And sometimes he doesn't even make sense, right? Because like I cannot just go, like for us, we don't just come up because our board, for example, develop policies too, or local policies. I mean, we make some decisions and we cannot just go to our teachers and then say, hey, you gotta change how you do this and you can change how you do that based on what? Why are we asking them to change how to educate kids if it's already working, right? Or I mean, again, if we solve for a problem, we solve a problem. Anyway, so it's a lot of them, and I know there's a link there. You can click on it. We just put it in our website because we can be transparent without community. But a lot of this stuff is just, I mean, some of it is good, right? Like I can see maybe student personal devices helping with the distraction in schools, but even the way they were written, we had to go back and ask them like, what do you really mean by this? Like we're trying to kind of comprehend how this works because like if our issue was distraction in the classroom, we understand. But like even like how about in the cafeteria, maybe where they're maybe checking mom that send a text or dad send a text where they're a break, pretty much, right? They cannot have it open at all, right? In any setting. So some of this stuff is like trying to make sense of it, and sometimes it doesn't make sense, right? But these are some of the changes, and again, there are a lot. We feel like all of us feel overwhelmed.
And that was just this last year, that last slide, that was just.
Yes. That's not even the whole list, trust me. There's, I think there were almost 100 bills that have somehow had to do with education.
And I'll just add, one of the things that we run up against, I'll stand because I'm short. One of the things that we run up against is a lot of time our legislators are asking a very small group of people for advice on how to craft these laws. And not really asking the people who are boots on the ground. And so they don't fully understand the laws that they're writing.
Yeah.
So the personal devices, yes, we've seen some positive with it not being a distraction for our kids, but we had to go back and then to say, well, what exactly do you mean by this? Do you mean Apple Watches, right? We have a lot of students who wear Apple Watches to watch their blood sugar, or we have students with autism who need it to help them with their routines. None of that was considered. You know, they came back and they said, well, it also includes the glasses that you can wear that, you know, like, and none of that they thought of beforehand. So then it created extra work for us to say, okay, well, if you had asked us in the first place, here are all the things that we use those devices for, and then you could have written the law accordingly so that we didn't have to go back and do extra work for you on the back end and then go to our family. So a lot of it is very time consuming for us as well, when we really should be focused on our students.
And the way that I highlighted what y'all were talking about was you had prior to the legislative session, you had this many administrative people to do this amount of work. After last year's administrative session, you now have this amount of much of work, and because of the financial restrictions and challenges, you now have this many people to do more work.
That's a great representation of what's happening. But even like with the school library material and like we obviously there is a way of doing it. There are the librarians who are certified, right? They go through rigorous ways. And I'm gonna say, look, we're all human. So if let's say a book not supposed to be read by students at whatever grade level, we just need to know about it and we'll fix it, right? We have a whole process for us, how we can remove those books, how we go screen them, right? There's a whole, like, parents have a right to say, I don't even want my kid to check out any books. We have it because they use a card. And if we notify the parents and the parents can see what books the kids have checked out, we have like an automatic system, right? We have our, because and this is how we do it. The parents always gonna have the last say, no matter what, in anything, whether the the courses they have to take, the program they wanna be part of, clubs, anything. We're here just to provide opportunity for parents and for students. And the finance are always gonna be up to the parents. So for those books, as I said, parents can block. They can say, I don't want any books. You can say, I don't want this particular books. We can say, I'm challenging this book. So they always have a good system that allowed ways for screening, I guess, the books before I get into the library, but also if there is an issue identified, how to address it and address it in a timely manner. But as I said, as a parent, parents always gonna have the last say. So things like that, and then now they added more things where the law have asked the board members to read hundreds, literally thousands of books to decide what books now goes to the library. And I was like, I mean, with all respect, I mean, I know they're amazing, but they volunteer that time. They don't have the time to read thousands. That's what we pay for librarians, right? To kind of screen and look at that stuff, and then they use their best judgment, right? But also have a system how to. But some of these laws, as I said, they're trying to fix a non-existent problem, or instead of tweaking stuff, completely making it worse, I guess, by all these changes. So it's been rough. I'm not gonna lie, it's been really rough. And then I know and I'm going to the challenge. The one thing is, like with any new things, you adding people to do, and that since 2019 post-pandemic, I'm sure you're feeling it with your own personal finance. Things are more expensive, right? They are 20 to 25%, depending on what you're looking at, more expensive, right? But from our school district budget, and I know I don't want to talk too much into how we get our funding, but the way we get our funding, obviously it's primarily our taxpayers, our local taxpayers pay their property taxes, but we don't get to necessarily to keep every dollar that our homeowners pay. There is a formula set by the state, so you only get to keep a certain amount of money, depending on how many students you have, right? So, like, I can tell you, for us, what's called a basic allotment is $6,200, $220, let's say, per kid, right? So that's really what we get to see. That number since 2019 only went up by $50. And we just told you 20-some%. So that's really what's causing problem. Like, that's keeping adding more stress on our system, because we cannot afford, like, our teachers are working hard, but they also have to pay mortgage, rent, we got to give them raises. Like, how can we give them raises if we don't get new money into our system? Everything from running the buses to paying electricity bills, maintaining the buildings. I mean, all that stuff is also, it's part of what's called the maintenance and operation budget, which is that annual money, because the bond, I'm sure you heard of bond. The bond is only to build or fix major construction by the buses, but not to run them, right? And so those things, so anyways, it's been really also a struggle keeping things going with the very limited funds. And again, so the question for taxpayers, like, but we pay more tax than taxes. Yes, most likely you are, because property value is going up. Our tax rate is actually going down, and it's been going down since forever now, for the past at least 6 or 7 years. The problem is we don't get to keep that money. That money goes back to the state. Any extra money goes back to the state. So, like 2 years ago, I think it was 3 years ago, we sent $110 million back to the state that our own local taxpayers paid. And every year is different depending on the property values and stuff like that. And like Austin ISD, they sent almost $700 million back to the state next door. Yes, it's called a recapture. I'm sure you heard the word recapture. But that's really, and I don't blame our own taxpayers for not understanding this, because the school district finance is very complex. And like, I know everybody's been paying more year after year, just because also the property value is going up. And people are like, well, I'm paying more. Why are you saying you don't have the money? Because we don't get to keep all the money, right? That's the problem. We don't get to keep everything that our taxpayers do pay. Anyway, so that's really, if you ask me, that's really the biggest challenge, because we want to make sure that we keep taking care of our teachers, our support staff, providing opportunities for our students, right? And so and also, I don't know if you heard last session, also started the voucher program, So they put $1 billion to the side for vouchers, which is pretty much a little bit more than $10,000 per kid for the kids who go to private schools, and then a little over 2,000 for kids who are homeschooled. And so that would be as that's gonna start this coming school year. So that also will have an non-impact because there's less money, because it's the same bucket, right? So it's less money for public schools, but also eventually, more students probably may wanna try something different. But as I said, we're proud of the work we do on Round Rock, and we've been really being innovative with the opportunities we have and trying to provide many options for our students because that's the right thing to do, right? But that's been really, really hard. So yeah, so those are the two biggest challenges. The partnership, as I said, we cannot thank you and thank our community partners, our parents, our PTA. We have a great foundation, education foundation. We have amazing really partnership with the chambers like Roanoke Chamber or the Austin Chamber, the cities. I think that's really what's been really a little bit makes us feel good is that because despite all what's happening with sometimes with elected officials who are not very supportive, it's really the local people, like our community here. It's really the ones who've been really cheering us up and trying to kind of step in and help sometimes when our own elected officials sometimes don't do what they're supposed to be from standpoint of supporting public education. I mean, I happen to believe the students are deserve to have the best, but also they are also the future of our country, right? They are the future, and for us not funding public education is pretty much we are not funding for kids, right? So they can be successful in the future. So as you know, I think about 90% of there are 5.5 million students who actually attend a public school in Texas. And that represent a little bit over 90% of the total student population, right? Because the rest decide either to homeschool or private school or other options, right? Which is, we totally understand. Again, the choice always gonna be with the parents at the end. But there are 5.5 million students who are sitting in school right now and they might be needing more resources and more help. And we have to make sure we are taking care of them as well. Yeah.
Please. There's one afterward, registration discussion.
Oh. Yes. So hi, I'm Alicia Markham. I currently serve as the president of the Board of Trustees. Like Pastor Josh said, I have two boys in the district. They're in the Round Rock Learning Community, over in the central part of the district. And we have been in Round Rock for about 19 years-ish. So we love the school district. We moved to Round Rock from Pflugerville for the school district before our kids were even old enough to be in school. So we love it here. We are a well-run district. I want to start by saying that. I know as we've talked about budget and our current funding issues and this year as we continue to see some changes that we're going to have to make that are aligned with the funding that we received this year. I want to reassure you all that we are an efficient and well-run district. Many of the surrounding districts are closing schools, many schools in their districts. They are faced with cutting employees, running very large deficits, having to adopt a very large deficit, none of which we are considering as a district because over the last 5 years, we've really done some hard planning to make sure that we don't touch the classroom, that the classroom remains as it is so that our students continue to get all of the opportunities that they deserve. So one thing I wanted to touch on today is the role of the board versus the administration. I think often there's a lot of confusion over what the board does and the decision making that comes between the board and the administration. We've got a great partnership. Again, I feel like that's why we're so well run. We're also well known for being a very strict district as far as our boundaries go, and the board stays within their role and admin stays within their role. But I think that that's what makes us work so well. So the board has 5 roles. We communicate with the community. We hire and evaluate the superintendent. We develop and review policy. We adopt the budget and set the tax rate. And we set student outcome goals and monitor those throughout the year. All other topics, as you can see, all of those things that were passed in legislation, those are outside of the board's purview. So one thing we as a board often is a challenge for us is that we want to make sure as we are adopting policy that we're looking at it and making sure that one, we're following the law. We don't have any choice but to follow the law. But we also want to make sure that we're protecting our students, that we're protecting our staff, our educators, that we're protecting the integrity of the academic and the educational experience and the teaching profession, all of which has been under attack with all of these laws that are passed. So that's a continual struggle for us. How can we maintain that integrity, keep our students and our staff safe, while also following the law? And I feel like so far we've been able to manage that. Again, administration's done a great job of bringing the board a lot of options. Which way do you want to go with this? And I feel like we've been able to walk that line well. As you can see, one of the pressures that we're constantly under is local control. When you go and you vote, obviously our state and our federal offices are very important, but your local offices are what affect your daily life. Those are some of your most important votes because that's where you're going to feel the change in your daily life. And more of that is being eroded at the state level. So a lot of these laws are things that really should be up to your local school board and your local districts, and the state is mandating that we do these things. Not only are they mandating them, but when it comes to putting extra resources toward them, they're not funding them either. So you must do this, but it has to come out of your operational budget. So again, that's one thing that has been a constant challenge for us. Even the personal devices, right? We as a district had a fairly good policy already. The library books, we talked about that a little bit. Our process is like the premier process in Texas. Other districts across the state look at our library approval process and mirror it in their districts. Not one legislator asked us what our process looks like. And it was fairly close, right? Other than forming the parent committee. I mean, it was already fairly close, but not one legislator asked us, and we have the premier process. So some of that just doesn't really make sense. Again, creates extra work on us. We found a way actually to go back to our process. And it's made our librarians' lives much easier. Again, we're always looking for ways to maintain the integrity of the teaching profession. I feel like we've been able to do that for our librarians. We're not experts. We should not be approving all of those titles as the board. Yes, I think our board is amazing. We're all very intelligent people. I do not have a master's degree in library sciences. I've never been in the classroom. Like there's no reason I should be looking at those titles and approving all of them. I mean, we're talking thousands of titles. We have to be able to trust our educators. That's what they're there for. So we've been really, really pleased that we've been able to have some options to work with. And again, trustees are bound to consider all sides of an issue. I know that sometimes we want to push for our particular political ideology, and we feel like this side is wrong and this side is wrong. And we serve everyone. No matter what we may personally believe, we serve everyone. And so we are bound to make sure that we're representing every person in our community. But first and foremost is our students. Right? We have to protect their experience and making sure that they're continuing to get opportunities and feel safe at school. I think that sometimes education's become political, not just political, but it's become a partisan issue. And there is no reason. Public education is for everyone. Everyone benefits from it. It's like any other public service, fire, police, EMS. I know people don't feel like they should have to pay. They should be able to take the money from public education and go to a private school, take the voucher, go wherever I want to go. It's my tax dollars. That's not how fire, EMS, any of those public services work. Public service is for everyone, so everyone can benefit because it's the great equalizer, right? Public education is the great equalizer. Public education was created under that philosophy. And so there's no reason it should be a partisan issue. So we continue to move forward, where it's hard work right now. It's hard to be in public education. It's hard to be an educator right now. We are very, very aware of all of those things. And again, from our standpoint in a governance role, we are doing everything we can to protect public education. We're at the Capitol during the session weekly, talking to our legislators, even the ones who don't agree with us, even the ones who are trying to dismantle public education. One of our particular representatives, who is at the forefront of dismantling public education, we invited her to our schools to see our programming. I'm very, very, very glad that we have the Interfaith Alliance, which I think you're a part of, right? Where we brought in different faith groups. I think y'all meet twice a year, right? And walk them around our schools, talk them through our programming so that they understand what's actually going on inside of our classroom walls and not what they read on social media, not what they're hearing from people who haven't stepped foot in the classroom. I feel like churches too and our faith groups, you're the center of our community. Just in the way that schools are the center of our communities and they're gathering places and they're places to learn, churches are the same. We should be aligned in our advocacy. I think we all have the same goal for our students. So I'm just so pleased to see all of you here today. It's a much larger group than I anticipated, and that you all want to be advocates for public education. And I'm very excited about the Q&A. I think you have some questions for us.
Yeah, it's great. We've got about 15 minutes, so we're good on time. I think I'm gonna give you a kickoff question, and then I want to let them ask y'all. I think that y'all named a lot of the items that we have explored over the last several months. So external pressures, legislative pressures, societal pressures, especially from the taxpayers and the financial aspects of all of that. One of the things that I feel like, and I'm curious, how long have you been serving on the board?
This is my 4th year.
Your 4th year. So you came in right after the COVID pandemic in that regard. So one of the things that I feel that the lightning rod focus on Board of Trustees shot off in 2020. And what the trustee experience was like prior to 2020 is not what I feel like it's been since, at least from the headlines and from the outsider's perspective. I'm curious both from a two-part thing. One, what that experience is like for you as someone who's been serving in this role on the forefront visibly for our community in volunteer role, the good, the bad, and the ugly, as well as how would you advise folks like us to meaningfully engage in public education in Round Rock ISD?
Sure. So I came on in 2022. I'm sure many people remember that election. It was all in the news. It was intense and controversial, and I didn't talk to anyone for 3 months after I was elected. We had to do, a lot of not just talking, but correcting misinformation during our campaigning. So it was a difficult time. I will say that prior to me being on the board was probably the most difficult time for board members. We had board members who were receiving death threats. And again, you have to remember, we know what we're stepping into when we decide to run for office, right? As elected officials, we know that we're going to be in the crosshairs of the culture wars, right? We know that. But to receive a death threat when you are a volunteer, we get paid nothing for this, a volunteer, and this is essentially, sometimes it can be a full-time job that we're free. And you're doing it for the good of your community. You want to put good out into the world. You're doing it for the good of your community. To receive a death threat, not only is that just terrible and scary and intimidating, but it also makes people not want to run for office. And then you're left with the people who are making the threats. And so I think that was a very scary thing for our community for a while. And I'm really grateful in 2022 that we were able to put mostly a board together that wanted to work together toward the good of our students and improving student outcomes, especially coming out of COVID. We had a lot to make up academically after COVID. Every district did. It wasn't just us. So we needed a board that could push us forward. I think sometimes it's the demands. I think again, that's why I always open with explaining what's governance versus administration. We want your questions to be answered. We want to be transparent with you. We want you to know what's going on in our schools, but sometimes the demands that come to us as a board are nothing that we can control. Whether it's state law and it's an administrative issue, or sometimes really doesn't have much to do with public education. It's not something that we can control. And I think sometimes people feel slighted when we don't give the response that they want. Or sometimes we as trustees don't answer the question because it'll automatically be forwarded to administration, and that takes a little extra time. People don't like that. So sometimes I think it's just understanding the way that those roles work. Again, I talked about culture wars and how we expect to be in the crosshairs, but our educators don't, and they shouldn't be. And for me in particular, that has been such a challenge and hard to watch as a teaching profession has been torn down on complete misinformation. And once you step into our classrooms, you see that I know sometimes people want education to be education of, a long time ago, what they consider the golden age. And it is, there's a lot more computers, there's a lot more technology, there's a lot more programming now than there used to be because there's jobs that exist now that didn't before. But at the core of it, it still is that education. And so there's a lot that's made up that's really, really just tearing us down. And to take the time to have to fight against that, again, takes away from our students, which is where our focus needs to be. So again, there is a lot that is a distraction. It's meant to create chaos. It's meant to pit our educators against each other. You start looking at budget and the way that we're funded and how we can only spend specific dollars on specific things. It is meant to pit our educators against each other, departments against each other, districts against each other. It's intentionally designed. And so it's really, really hard to fight against that, keep morale up, and just make sure that we're moving forward and doing the right thing.
Thank you so much. Carol and then Kathy.
I appreciate your comments so much. My background again is in higher education, and I can tell you how that starts out there. And then my husband is a middle school teacher. And so we would talk often about how these things happen and how they would manifest in higher ed and then how he was seeing them there. I think you're right. Your point about education being the great equalizer, I think that is exactly the reason why education is under attack, because there is a desire to make it unequal. And if we choke the schools in every possible way in their finances, they're pitting the teachers against each other, and they're taking away the resources from the students, they're cutting off financial aid, they're taking away all of the supports. As you're choking education, students are falling off. And they're losing that education, which results in an uneducated populace coming out, which makes it better for the people that are trying to control if you have people that aren't educated enough to fight back. That is the ultimate goal. And it's sad for me with my background as an attorney to see some of these laws that are being passed that I know our legislators, who are also many attorneys, know are unconstitutional and unlawful. And they put them in place because they know the time and the energy that it will take to challenge those in court. They've already won because you have to play it out because it's the law.
Exactly.
It's
And I
another
think
way to choke you.
that's exactly right, as it has to play out. And even some of these, like the prayer in schools, which we already have a policy where we set aside time during the day, no matter what faith you are, that you can use that time to go pray. Whatever it is that aligns with your religion, you have time for that. We already had a policy for that. And a lot of districts do. And yet they wrote it into law, but not only did they write it into law, but they said we as a board had to take a record vote on it. So I had to call out each board member's name and they had to say yes or no, whether or not they wanted the policy. And that's intentional, right? Because they want us, we all have to stream our meetings, we all have to record. They want us on video saying that we're not going to put that policy in place with no other context around it.
Right.
So it is all
purposefully
intentional.
designed, right? And if you look at the DEI, right, we don't want DEI because presumably that is supporting all of these people who were put in place but didn't have the expertise to be where they were. They were there because they were women, they were people of color, they were whatever. That's why they were there, but they didn't have the expertise. And yet, all of these laws that are being passed Did they come to the people with the expertise to inform them? No. So that, you're right, that is very contradictory. It doesn't make sense, and that's by design.
Right, and we talked about vouchers a little bit too. And there's been some new data coming out now that the window has closed. Well, I think there's maybe one other week because of the lawsuit. But the window's about to close to apply for vouchers. And the data shows that 76% of the people who applied for vouchers weren't ever attending public school. So they're either private school students or they're homeschool students. And we knew that. We knew that a majority of the people who would take advantage of vouchers would be people who were already attending private school and could afford it anyway. And now they get a tax break. And there are people who are surprised by that. Like none of us who are in the trenches are surprised by that, right? None of us are
Nobody
surprised.
in this room is surprised.
Good. Because there's so many people, the way that they tiered it, and again, as someone who was at the legislature often and watched the development play out where the law was written on the backs of our most vulnerable populations who will never be able to access those vouchers was very, very difficult. And that happens often at the legislature where we use our vulnerable populations to say, oh, this is going to help them so much. Every single one of those lawmakers knows that they won't be able to access it. And that's very, very, very difficult. But we serve everyone and we do it well. And just one more point I want to put out there about budget, since we're talking about vulnerable populations. When we're looking at our budget and you might hear, oh, well, you got all this $8.5 million, billion dollars, went into public education this session. Okay, well, it's all earmarked for specific purposes, right? When you look at how much we get paid per student, there are weights for that too. So our special education students, we get those, they're weighted, right? So we get some extra money for special education students. We spend $60 million in special education. We only receive $40 million. So we have a $20 million gap that just comes out of our operating fund to continue to provide special education services. We told our lawmakers that and they said, well, where does the 20 million come from? They didn't know. It comes out of our operating fund, which you are not increasing because you won't increase the basic allotment. So again, just we're fighting battles on lots of fronts.
And just to add about funding, we're not asking taxpayers to pay anymore. I think that's where I think they're trying to make it look like we're gonna go and ask you for more money. We're not. The money is there. We're just asking appropriate the money the right way and prioritize the money the right way, right? So and that's I guess the confusion because like, oh, well, you're gonna go back to the taxpayer and ask them. No, we already asking our taxpayers to pay the money. They're already paying the money more than what they should be paying. The question is now, are you gonna allocate the money the way it should be allocated, right? And that's what they're missing the boat. They're not allocating it for our students who need most vulnerable, like the special education students, right? Kids who need extra support. They're not allowing us to have that money, right? So we can actually spend.
And the money that they put into the voucher program would have been enough to raise our basic allotment to what we needed to fund our schools appropriately.
Let me get Kathy, and was there anybody else before I close out? Susan? Okay, Susan, and then let's go to see where we are. Kathy.
Okay, so I feel like we're dealing with, from my vantage point, David and Goliath. The organizations are Goliath. And the individual has certain issues and needs, okay? And where is, in my mind, sort of like, where do you go when you know you need something? How are you gonna fucking get it, partner? I'll give you, and there's a lot of wisdom of Solomon, I think, that happens at a local level. And I'm gonna tell you a story that's a long time ago, but it's true. When I was in high school, my mother had a psychotic break. And she was depressed, suicidal, a whole bunch of stuff. I did not know until years later that she had gone behind my back and talked to the counselors to complain about how much homework I had. Okay. She also sat me down when I was 7 years old and told me they weren't going to have me and I had to earn a scholarship if I wanted to go to college. Well, and so this is kind of a testimony to finding some way through the gaps. When I graduated from high school, there were a whole lot of issues about the fact that we had merged with another school. And I should have been the valedictorian, but I was the salutatorian because of how they averaged the grades. My parents were blue collar workers. They had no power. The other girl was a doctor's daughter. But I had a whole bunch of little bitty scholarships and I got admitted to Rice. And I got 4 years of free tuition and some grant money, and I had a whole bunch of little bitty scholarships. My mother was under doctor's orders not to work. She wasn't competent to interface with the public at that point. And I was $500 short of enough money to go. And I did, to this day, I really don't know exactly how this happened. I'm pretty sure my counselor called us. I had tutored her daughter in geometry, and she had oil money. And she called me up one afternoon and said, if you want to go, I'll give you the $500. That didn't happen because of an organization. That happened because of somebody that cared about me, knew I was worth it. I hope it was the best $500 she ever spent. Okay. But so, you know, on a level of what you deal with on a daily basis, the real needs aren't met by the organization, and they aren't ever going to be. Okay. But individuals have ways to step in and slide in under the covers, if you will, and make something happen. And that was very important. I mean, that was Vietnam War day. I considered going into the military if I didn't get enough money to go to college, but I didn't want to do that because I don't like to take orders.
Thank you.
So, but anyway, I just wanted to comment about that kind of dichotomy.
Yeah.
And you can do what you can do, but there's a lot of stuff that maybe we can do on a micro level if we just know what the needs are.
Thank you. And that's what I talk about. It takes a village, right? So that's really took a village for you, right? To help, because the organization wasn't gonna be able to help you get to college at that time. And it's the case still true for several of our students too, right? That's why we have the foundation, business partners who oftentimes provide scholarships and other things too, right? So it's still true to this day. It takes a village.
Yeah, I think one of the areas, certainly the Partners in Education, the Pi Foundation for Round Rock Independent School Districts, and it is the LEAF, LEEF for those in Leander Independent School District. So the contribution through that not only are able to support students in their growth and education, but also the teachers who, the one element there that I hear from you, Kathy, is, while the organization can't always meet where that, isn't going to be the savior for, like in your situation, still the amount of stuff that's thrown on each of those educators makes it more compressing. When I file my taxes every year and we have to, list how much we spend for our classroom, for my wife's classroom, it's significant, right? And that makes it more difficult for them to be able to do things like that. And I do need to hold that thought until just a few minutes. Hold your thought. Let me get Susan in and then we have to wrap up, everybody.
I'll try to be quick. I wanted to thank you both for being here. You brought so much. I need to thank Josh for asking you. I also wanted to say that my biggest question was perhaps answered to a degree by Alicia and our attorney who is present. My biggest concern as a teacher, and I'm just barely a teacher anymore, but I'm still friends with teachers in the Leander district, is the voucher system is just squunching them.
Yeah.
And I didn't really understand, having been in the Northeast for 30 years, how that happened. But I realize now it's law. Is it possible that that can be undone? And so we can vote. My question is, what can we do besides vote?
That's a great final question. I love it.
I mean, besides vote, I think you can still support public education as a whole, right? Like whether volunteering, mentoring, because we do at Roanoke I didn't talk about a lot, but we have a mentoring program. We actually have volunteers who come and read to kindergartnners to help them how to learn how to read, because we focus more on getting kids to read and do math by third grade on or above grade level, because we believe if they're set by that third grade, then they're gonna set for the rest of their years, I guess, even beyond high school. So for now, I mean, those kind of things, but talk to all your neighbors. I would kind of like when we talk to you, if you can spread the word, because a lot of people outside of this room still don't understand how bad vouchers are for public education, how bad the kind of support we have. I mean, I was a superintendent of the school district back in 2019 when our governor and the legislature at that time increased basically $1,000 in 2019. And we went from there to now giving $50 increase since then, right? That's like, it's the same, you immediately think it's the same governor, but I don't know what happened to him and what happened to the elected officials. They completely flipped. And so, and I don't know, it's just unbelievable. I couldn't even, and we've been begging for help like since 2023, because that's post-pandemic, right? And then, because remember, the federal government gave some federal money at that time to offset some of the losses, but that money went away, and they're like, okay, now with inflation, we have to sustain it, right? And it's almost you talking to the wall. I mean, the wall probably would hear we're in this better than these people. We've been there, I explained it to them, talking to them, sharing with them, inviting them over to see, what we're doing in our schools and how things are getting tighter and tighter now. And so for now, I would say talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, educate them more about that, about what's happening with public education, and also so in preparation. I mean, voting is around the corner. It's actually next year. I'm sorry. No, we have election right this year. I'm sorry, but it's like November, in 2 months. So yeah, so we just make sure they get ready and vote for people. It doesn't matter. I mean, I don't look at people like with a D or R next to their name. It's more about, do you support public education? All right. Do you support? And if that person does not, doesn't matter where they stand or not, whatever, even if they're, and whatever it is, then please, consider not voting for that person, right? If you can, because we are all struggling, and this is the future of this country, not just obviously our students we care, but they are the future, right? And so we are not providing them with the resources that they deserve and they should have. Our teachers and our staff, they need to also be taken care of. From to your point, yes, our teachers in general spend a lot of their own money, to provide for stuff to their students, because they care, because they love their kids. They'll do anything, even if they have to, I don't know, not to go and get their Starbucks, coffees for a week or a month.
Got the bridge too far.
They're gonna do whatever it takes for their
Don't
kids.
say that out loud.
So yeah. So I said,
No, teacher who have invested in Starbucks.
I know.
Can I add to that?
Please,
Okay.
please.
So it's about having the information now, right? About the voucher system and fighting the narrative and fighting the misinformation. There are a lot of people who aren't engaged and just don't know. I heard an Austin ISD trustee say the other day that it's her goal to make public education the issue on the ballot. There's a lot of single issue voters. Make it the issue. That's what people are voting on this year. And if we can make that the issue, then we can see the tides turn. Because yes, this voucher system can be dismantled and undone, but it won't be with the same governor. And I'm not telling you how to vote. I'm just saying, as long as he is in power, he is going to uphold the system. And so if that's something we want to change, there's got to be changes elsewhere. So yes, letting your neighbors know, using that information, and to your point, basic needs, right? We know that, we talk about it a lot, that our students can't learn if their basic needs aren't met. And that's what I talked about a little bit with safety and wanting to pour into and be cognizant of student safety as well while we're trying to deal with all of these distractions. So any opportunity to come into our schools and fill that need where maybe parents aren't doing it, guardians aren't doing it, Our teachers are stretched thin. Any way to partner with our campuses is fantastic. We also have a really great program called Families in Transition. Okay, so they serve our unhoused population. Sorry. Great way to partner with us.
We all live in what's called a vertical learning community. So there's a high school, middle schools, elementary schools, right? And I think one of the ways that I want to piggyback on what Alicia is saying is you are all invited and encouraged and welcome to join the PTAs at each of those levels. Every year for the last decade, I joined Spicewood, Anderson Mill, Grisham, Canyon Vista, and Westwood PTAs, as well as the PTAs in the vertical community where I live in Cedar Park. You get their emails, you hear when there are calls out like, hey, let's restock the teacher's lounge with candy. At schools like Anderson Mill, you hear calls of let's restock the food pantry or the clothes closet. But you don't hear those unless you're a part of those PTAs and getting that information from them. So it's one of the simplest, easiest ways, anywhere between 10 to 15 bucks per PTA. Very good way to stay connected with your local schools, as well as talking to your neighbors, especially the neighbors down the street who have kids if your kids are now out of the program. Out of public education. And then, yes, the Families in Transition program, we did a deep dive and we met with Ann Grisham last spring who came, and many of us joined have made a concerted effort that the Families in Transition program is one of our focal points, and to support the families in Round Rock ISD who are in those programs. And as I had mentioned prior, our gift to y'all for being here today is a gift made in y'all's honor to the Families Nutrition Program. And so we are so grateful for your time today, and we're especially grateful for that program. And I think it's also just keeping us, letting them know we're here to help. How can we serve? Where do you need us? Plug us in, coach. Sometimes that means watching board of trustee meetings online at home with your family and popcorn.
It's not like that.
And wine or whatever. Sometimes it's with humdinger words. You never know. Difference. It's time for us to close. Let us give thanks to our friends today. One final thing I want to remind you, on that last page there of the handout is the QR code that will take you to our weekly reflection feedback. And I want to encourage you now here at the end of the class, not only to give some feedback on today, but also over the last several months of the classes that you've attended. Again, that information will be used to help our outreach and mission focused team explore as we go forward. We will not have Christian Ed next Sunday because it's, Easter. But in 2 weeks, we launch a 6-week course on the book of Acts, and you should be getting more information about it. And Marcelo Gonzalez, one of our elders, will be leading that. I encourage you to consider joining us for that. In the handout also is our unison closing prayer. And so if y'all would please let us all join together in our closing prayer. God of justice, we have learned. Now guide us as we move from words to action. Bless our going out and our coming in. And go in peace, everybody. Go in peace. Thank you, Diane. Thanks, Kitty. Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't see the second. Do you know that?
So what I like about something down here. There's this like teaching. It's this version of how to live it. You have there's a role. And honestly, barely 500 things. Yes. Great.
I know. It's great.
You know.
I don't want to. That includes your lives and regularly. It's like it's in their curriculum to talk about these things. The science is going to say, and the curriculum science is going to class. It's not like. I can get teach them. I don't want to say anything, but.
See, I look at this. The library was.
Yeah.
So the building. Sammy wants to. Mom said we can't take it. But that's not very hard. It's just not.